We have another Hillary Clinton story for you from WikiLeaks' recent document dump. It's on what they plan to do with taxes for the rich. So The Intercept breaks it down here. American multinational corporations are currently stashing a staggering $2.4 trillion in profits, about 14% of the size of the entire U.S. economy, overseas. Multinationals are required by U.S. law to pay the statutory 35% tax on profits they earn anywhere on Earth, but the tax is not assessed until the profits are brought back to the U.S. This has allowed corporate America to essentially hold U.S. tax revenue hostage, refusing to pay its taxes until Americans become so desperate that they will cut a deal giving multinationals a special new tax rate. This strategy has already paid off once, in 2004 when multinationals got Congress to let them bring back $312 billion in profits at a one-time rate of about 5%. The legislation required that the cash be used to hire Americans or conduct research and development. Corporations ignored these provisions and instead used the money to enrich their executives and stockholders while cutting U.S. jobs. All right, so what they're doing there is they're laying out the history of this, and they're showing you what the game is and how these multinational corporations say, yeah, I could bring the money back into the U.S. and pay my taxes like everybody else has to do, or not. Or I can use this giant legal loophole where I keep my money overseas and I basically say, I'm never going to bring it back until you give me a special tax rate. So not only are they holding the government hostage, they're holding you hostage. Because in the meantime, who picks up the slack when these giant corporations who are super rich dodge their taxes? You do. You do. They shift the tax burden onto you, middle-class workers who are busting your ass. So all the government is asking is that, these corporations be treated like anybody else. That's all they're asking. Okay, you guys are going to pay your taxes. The accountant paid his taxes. The construction worker paid his taxes. The teacher paid her taxes, so on and so forth. You got to pay your taxes. They go, no, we'll just keep the money overseas. And then you have to come begging to us to bring it back in when you're really desperate. And then maybe we'll consider it if you give us a special rate. And they did it in 2005 where it's, okay, just 5% is what it is. And they make up the bullshit provisions of, and you have to spend the money you bring back into the country on this, this, and this. The corporations go, sure, we'll do that. And then there's no provisions to enforce anything. So they just end up giving the money to the people at the top of the company. I mean, this is what people talk about when they say the system is rigged. Now, in step Hillary Clinton, and listen to this, quote, during an October 13th, 2014 speech to the Council of Insurance Agents and Brokers, Clinton told the audience that, quote, a number of business leaders have been talking to my husband and me about an idea that would allow the repatriation of the couple $1 trillion that are out there. And you would get a lower rate, a really low rate, if you were willing to invest a percentage in an infrastructure bank. So you understand the trick that's done there, right? They'd cut a deal with these businesses, and they'd say, okay, look, you bring the money back in the country. We'll take whatever it happens to be, 3%, 4% of that, and put it in a infrastructure bank that will immediately go to fixing infrastructure. Now, on that alone, we're going to take that aspect of it. Won't use the percentage number, but we'll use the raw number to describe how much money is going to go into it. And we'll sell that. We'll use this to sell to the progressives and the liberals. Come on, guys, what are you complaining about? We just set up an infrastructure bank. We want to rebuild the country. We got billions of dollars more now. What are you talking about? You can't be against this. It'd be crazy to be against this. I mean, are you against infrastructure spending? I guess you're against infrastructure spending. So that's how they'd sell to the progressives. How would the Republicans sell it to, the conservatives? They'd say, guys, we got a deal here. They're only paying 6% total, bitch. So, but, they get their special tax deal. They get to bring the money back in. We wash our hands of it and we move forward. She said, we give you a low rate, quote, a really low rate. What is that number? I don't know. It's open to interpretation. Bush did 5%. You thinking about 5%? And a certain percentage of that 5% goes to the infrastructure bank? But see, this is Clintonism 101. Always has been, always will be. For those of you who don't know, Bill Clinton ran his campaign in 1992 with this new thing called triangulation. Now, at the time, people viewed the Democrats as they're too far left. Now, I don't think that was true policy-wise, but people looked at them as too far left because they were still recovering from the 60s and the 70s and, you know, fucking hippies with the long hair and the no shirt and, oh, let's do LSD, woo! So people were like, okay, too far left, let's go to Reagan, button down. So Bill Clinton came along. The Democrats had gotten their clocks clean in all these different elections. Bill Clinton comes along, he's like, no, I got this shit. Grab the bull by the horns. I'm a new Democrat. That's what he said to people. I'm a new kind of Democrat. What I do is I triangulate. I'm above the fray, bro. Look, man, I'm so reasonable. Sometimes I agree with the Republicans. Sometimes I agree with the Democrats. And I'm just this, moderate, centrist kind of character. Now, at that time in history, it was a brilliant strategy. But he governed that way, too. And when you govern that way, you're a disaster. This is what neoliberalism is. When you govern that way, well, what are the results? You get NAFTA. You get welfare reform, which screwed over poor people. And the list goes on and on. You get deregulation, repeal of Glass-Steagall, which the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which Bill Clinton signed, despite the recent attempt for people on the left to try to pretend that wasn't the case. That was the case. He did sign it. So this is the result of it. And now Hillary Clinton is that 2.0. Where she says, no, it's cool. We're going to make a deal with you. And middle-class people, you have to pay all your taxes. It's not a question. You don't, we'll throw you in jail. You got to pay your taxes. 20%, 25%, how much you make? 80 grand a year, 70 grand a year, whatever it happens to be. You got to pay your taxes, period. These corporations stashed trillions of dollars overseas, with a T, trillions. They're going to give them a special deal to bring that money back in the country. No, you know how somebody would handle that if they actually gave a shit about the American people? They say this. Here's the deal. You bring that money back into the country this year, and you'll only have to pay what the rate is, 35%. If you bring it in this year, you will pay 35%, which is what you owe. I'll be kind to you. I won't penalize you for trying to play this game and hide the money from the U.S. government. I'm being really kind by saying that, aren't I? I mean, I could penalize the fuck out of you. You've been hiding that tax revenue. We know what you're doing. You're dodging your taxes, bitch. You're exploiting a loophole. Well, guess what? We're going to shut the loophole, but you have 1 year to bring that money back in the country, and you'll pay 35%. If you don't, starting next year, you'll pay 50%. How you like them apples? What are they going to do? They're going to fucking bring it back in immediately. Oh, shit. 35% is lower than 50%. Let's go. Code red, bitch. Let's go. But what do Clintons want to do? They want to do similar to Bush. You know, Bush was, hey, bring in 5%. I don't give a fuck what you do with the money. Except, hey, here are these provisions which we won't enforce about how you have to use it to create more jobs. Didn't happen. The Clintons will be slightly further to the left on the spectrum, bring in about the same amount, maybe 5%. If I'm being overly kind to them, maybe 10% when they're supposed to be paying 35% on it. And a little bit of that will go to an infrastructure bank, so aren't we so liberal? No, you're not. You're a neoliberal. The debate we're having is on an Overton window that's so far to the right where there is no left anymore. And this is why progressives are sick of you. This is why the base is having a hard time holding their nose and voting for you. It's because of what you do. It's not an irrational bias against you. People look at you and evaluate what you do and they go, not good enough.